So today we are talking about something that most people don't think about until it's too late, really. So what happens when people are promoting workshops? You go out there, maybe you send out your emails or you post it on social media. Perhaps you use some of my favorite strategies like asking other people to promote to their email list or post for you on social media so you're in front of more people. Or maybe you've been speaking on summits and podcasts and inviting people to your workshop and you've been emailing and now you've got some people registered, but registration does not equal attendees live in the room. So the question is, how do I get them to actually show up? Because I don't know about you, but a lot of times I register for events and I don't ever go. Something happens, something comes up in life that distracts me, and I go off and do that, or I forget because we're all busy and we're all getting tons of emails from tons of people. And so that is the second half of getting people to your workshops. The first half is getting them to even register, and the second half is getting them to show up. And you really do need a plan for that. You need to be thinking about that and be intentional about how you actually get people to show up and in the room with you live, because that's where you're going to make your impact with them. So the truth is, registrations don't equal attendance. And I can't tell you how many times coaches have said to me, "Oh, I've got 25 people registered, or I've got 30 people registered. Yay, I'm going to have 30 people in the room." And then I'll have to say, "Well, actually, you probably won't." The normal average rate, show up rate for an event is about maybe 20%, if you're lucky, of who registered. So if you have 30 people registered, then you might get 6 people in the room. And this is just the reality of the numbers. So in my system, the first letter in my client's framework, the C, is to clarify your vision. How many people do you want in the room? And so then that determines how many people you need to register. And then what do you do to get them to come into the room? And then depending on how many people are in the room, a normal typical average conversion rate is about 1%, right? So if you have 6 people in the room, if you get one person enrolled, you're doing really well. So you have to think about those numbers. So if you have 50 people registered, then maybe you'll get 10 people in the room. Again, you might get 1 or 2 signed up. But if you do a really good job with what I'm going to share with you today of getting them to attend and go the extra mile and do kind of think outside the box, and you get more than that 20%, maybe you get a 30% show up rate or even a 50% show up rate, then you're doing fantastic. One of my clients just did his first workshop last week. He had 29 people registered, and I went there showed up at the workshop to support him. It's online. It was online virtual. He had 29 people registered. So I'm expecting him to have maybe, and I kind of warned him, you might have 5 or 6 people show up. He had 18 people in the workshop that were not me and his person helping him. And that is like a 62% show up rate, which is phenomenal, especially for your first workshop. But the key was, and we talked about this afterwards, the key was the relationships he already had with a lot of those people. He had been touching them and speaking to them, and in other ways, he had been in, some of them were members of the local chamber, and they had already heard him speak at different events. And that's why speaking is a great way to get people to your workshops. They've already heard you, they've already met you, so that's a higher touch. They're going to be more likely to actually show up. So because he had relationships with so many of these people, his show up rate was tremendous. And that's the key. What I want to share with you today. How do you build that relationship bond with people before they've ever come to your workshop? Maybe they just got on your list or they heard you speak somewhere or somebody told them about you, but they haven't actually met you yet. You don't have that actual relationship yet. And if they don't show up in the room, then first of all, they're not going to experience you, and they're not going to experience your brilliance and your expertise. They can't connect with you, which builds trust. And so then, of course, they're not going to become clients. They're not in the room when you make your offer to your program. So I always think about this like, have you ever been invited to a party or an event and you get really excited, like, oh, thank you, thanks for inviting me. Maybe you got invited on a Facebook event or something like that. And or maybe even like, an Eventbrite kind of thing, or those online events that you get from maybe church or an organization that, sends out this invite. Hey, we're having the church picnic on Sunday. You're invited. And it feels really good to say you're invited, but then you realize, wait a minute, it wasn't that that person thought of me individually. It's just that they sent that invitation to everyone. And then suddenly it doesn't feel as exciting anymore. And that's what happens when you're sending out emails, mass emails, or doing like a mass broadcast on social media and you're inviting people. It feels like that. Like, oh, you didn't really direct that invitation to me. You just were sending it out to everyone. So I don't know if I'll go or not. But let's say you got a personal message or a text or even a phone call from the person that's throwing that party. They sent out the mass invitation, but they wanted you to know personally, particularly, specifically, that you are wanted. They want you in particular to come. So maybe they call you or they send you a direct message on Facebook or something and they say, hey, by the way, did you get that? Did you see that invitation? I really want you there. Would you consider coming? I in particularly specifically want you there. Or they send you a text, hey, are you coming? I'd love to see you there. Or maybe they call you and they say, hey, I would love it if you would come and join us at this party. I really want you there. It would mean a lot to me. Now, that is a game changer, isn't it? How much more likely are you to actually put that event on your calendar and plan to go if you were personally invited by that host and not just one of hundreds in a mass invitation? You were actually chosen. They sought you out and they said, I want you to come. Then you feel valued, you feel seen, you feel like you matter to that person, and you're going to be more likely to go. The same thing is true when you're doing an online event like a workshop. This is exactly what happens with the people that you have invited in a mass invitation. They're thinking, well, everybody in the world's been invited to that. They won't pay much attention to it. And then even if they do register because they're curious about it, doesn't mean that they're committed to come. They might have signed up with good intentions, but maybe it was weeks ago, a couple weeks ago, and they've forgotten, or something else came up that seemed more inviting. Life happens, right? So this is where it makes a big difference. This is where you can bump up that show up rate from 20% to 30, 40, 50, or like my client, 60%. Is this piece right here. When you make a personal connection in some way with those people that registered and invite them on a personal level. And you might be asking me, how do I do that? If I send out emails to, I don't know, I have 1,000 people on my email list. How am I going to do that? And maybe out of that 1,000 people, 50 people registered. That's a lot of people to send out text to or make phone calls to. But the results are remarkable. And we've been doing this lately for my events, especially my 3-day event. More people actually attend and they start engaging with you before the event begins. So I had my VA help me with this. And if your event is larger, having somebody to assist you, or maybe it's even a friend or one of your clients already that would be willing to get on the phone and call some of those people. And yes, when they register, make sure you also include a phone field in the registration so that you can call them or text them. That's more and more common now than it used to be. And they also give you permission. You have a line in there on your registration form that they're giving you permission to send them texts when they give you the phone number. And they can choose not to give you the phone number. That's fine. But if you have the phone number, you can have somebody actually call them and say, we're really excited that you registered for this workshop. Can't wait to see you there. We'd love to know what's one thing that you'd really like to learn. And then they can respond to that and they've already engaged with you. And another thing you can do is send out some direct messages on social media. Find them on Facebook or LinkedIn. My VA does that for me too. And what I found is people start answering those personal messages and they start answering the question. What would you like to get out of this event? Which one of your top goals for coming or top reasons for coming? I want to make sure that the event content is what you're looking for. I'll make sure to address what it is that you're looking for. And of course, most of the things that people say they want are already things I'm going to be touching on. But how wonderful is it when they respond to that and say, "Oh, yeah, I'm really excited. It's on my calendar. This is one thing I'd love to learn." And then I can respond back and say, "I'm going to make sure to include that. I can't wait to see you there." Now I've already created a relationship. They've already become engaged. How much more likely are they going to be to show up now? They're going to show up more excited and ready to participate because they've already had a couple of touches from you. This is so worth it, even if it does take a little bit of extra time. Call them, send them a text. Same thing with the text. Ask them a question, see if they respond to you, because you want to get them involved in it and help them to see that you're doing this for them, that you're creating content for what they want to know and learn about. So it starts the relationship before the workshop. So they didn't just register, they felt connected. So think about your next workshop. Maybe you have one on the calendar you're getting ready to do, or maybe you've just been thinking about doing workshops. Think about this piece of it. Look at how many do you want registered, and that's your promotion plan. And I have a lot of videos on how do you get people to register and how do you promote. You can go to my YouTube channel. If you're watching this video in YouTube, you can go look for tons. I've got tons of videos in there talking about how to actually promote your event. But now you've promoted, people are registered. Ask yourself this question. Look at that number. How many of these people have I personally connected with? And this is why I always say have a promotion plan. Promoting a workshop is not just a few posts, it's a campaign. You run it like a campaign and you think about it and plan it, a month ahead of time, and you start planning like when am I going to uh, put out my teaser videos? When am I going to actually start the promotion and open up registrations? And then when am I going to start connecting with the people that have registered? And you want to give yourself a good 2, 3 weeks from registration to event so that you can reach out and connect. And then ask yourself, how many of those people have I? So try to reach out to as many of them as you can, especially those that have given you a phone number. So that's usually my first thing is I reach out to them through a text or a voice mail. I call and leave a voicemail, or if they pick up, I just, talk with them for a few minutes. And then I move on to let me find them on social media and see if I can send them a direct message. You can actually, to make this easier, this is an extra little tip. On the thank you page after they register, you could put in there, "Hey, I'd love to connect with you on social media. Here, find me here on Facebook or find me here on LinkedIn and reach out to me," or even ask them to submit their social media channels so you can connect with them. And that way, you're finding the right person. And that's another place of connection. And they feel like, oh, wow, they want to connect with me on social media. That's cool. And you can say, if you call them, you can just say, "Hey, I saw that you registered. I'm really excited you're coming. I'd love to know what you would like to get out of this workshop." That's it. So just remember, filling your workshops isn't just about getting people in the door or as a registered, as a registration person, but it's about making sure they actually walk through the door and come to the event. And the simplest way to do that is just this. Make them feel like they matter. Let them know you want them specifically to come. You want to get to know them. Make them feel like they matter. Now, if you want to know more about how to build a workshop that not only fills up, but brings you the right people and brings you clients and how to convert in those workshops, I want to invite you to my next workshop, which is May 27th from 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time. It's called the Client Enrollment Workshop. I'm going to drop the link here in the Zoom chat. It'll also be below this video on YouTube. And in that workshop, I'm going to walk you through my full clients framework system that from attracting the right people, setting up your goals, knowing what you want out of it, all the way to turning them into clients. So just remember this. People don't show up because they registered. And they don't show up because they want more information. They show up because they already feel connected to you. They already feel like they matter to you. So reach out, start the conversation, make it personal, and watch what happens. So hopefully that little tip was helpful for you guys. Anybody here in the Zoom room have a question or comment? I'd like to open that up for you all to share whatever you want to share.
Just
Honesty.
a comment. Thank you for that. My business is super small. Like I say, I'm a full-time CEO of a nonprofit, so that takes up a lot of my time. So I just started this last year, but I have done a group coaching already. I have 6 women in there, which is awesome. I've done a bunch of one-on-one coaching already. I've been coaching sober and recovery coaching for almost 2 decades now, but this coaching business is something different. So it's really cool to hear you say, so start reaching out to them individually instead of like the group mass email like I do through Flowdesk. So that's something that I picked up that I'm gonna start doing. Um, and then what about your suggestion? What about even like people that like your posts? Should you go in and message them really quick? Okay, yeah, I
Yeah,
haven't been doing that,
definitely.
but
Oh,
that
yeah.
just popped in my head while you were talking.
That's a great idea.
Anyway, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, you're welcome. I love that. I want to just kind of embellish on that a little bit more. Like you post on social media, or you maybe you create an event inside of LinkedIn or Facebook. You actually create an event and invite people that, particularly invite people to that event that you know that you're already connected with, because then more people will see it. And then as people are saying, "Hey, I'm going to come," or maybe they comment, just send them a DM and say, "I would love to see you there. Um, what would be something you would like to learn?" And see what happens. Yep. All those little connections make a huge difference in your show up rate. And that's what people are doing now. The most successful event hosts are doing this kind of personal outreach, sometimes even sending things in the mail. Of course, you have to get their physical address to do that. I haven't done that yet. But I did see a big difference when I started reaching out in the ways that I was sharing today. Texting is I put the text, reminders in as part of my workflow, but extra texts, and I've even done video text, and or you could do little short videos in Facebook Messenger or an audio, because that's even more personal.
So
Awesome.
one thing that I saw recently that somebody did to me that I thought was really, really helpful was they sent an email in their regular email, but in it was a video. And I assumed it was it was just a
Everybody.
regular video. But then, he started it like, "Hey, Chris, like, thanks for, following me and everything." So it was a very personal, I'm sure he did the same video for everybody. He just changed in the beginning,
Yeah,
but like it made me want to do what he asked me to do
of course.
because it was super personal and it doesn't seem like that would be a lot of is it's time consuming, but you can do it whenever you want. You don't have to like wait and call them during normal hours. So I thought it was a really cool idea.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Somebody suggested using Loom and make little personal videos, and send them to people. That would be time consuming, but let's say you have somebody that has really, maybe they've come to other events, or maybe they've been following you and they've really engaged at a higher level than other people. Send them those personal videos first because they're already engaged. And then if you have time, you could send more. But yeah, I love that you said it made you want to do what he asked you to do because he sent something personal to you. In this day and age, that's very valuable to people because we're so used to getting the mass emails and the videos that are going to everyone, and we're so used to, this online world and not really having personal touches from people. So when you do get that, it's like, wow, that person took the extra time to send me a video, to me in particular, even though they might have sent the same videos to others, but the fact that they took the time to send one with my name means a lot. So it's a great idea. Thanks for sharing that. Awesome. Anybody have anything else that they'd like to say about this? I hope that you all are I know you're probably just starting out, but I hope that you do consider doing some workshops because, like I said, I've been doing them for more than 11 years. They've been my primary way of filling my events and getting clients. Um, Instead of just looking for that next client, I figured, getting a group of my ideal clients in front of me would work a whole lot better than if I just were trying to find the next one person to talk to. So I'm going to put the link in here. Let's see, clientenrollmentworkshop.com for my next workshop, which is, like I said, May 27th. And in there, I go through my framework. I'm gonna make sure that link works. Yep. I go through my framework and teach it to you, and then we spend a little bit of time working on the most important pieces of that framework together in the workshop. So you get a lot of value out of it. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming to the Speakeasy Cafe. I will see you all next Monday and hope to see you in the workshop or some other place sometime soon. Take care.